So what's the subject?
There's a lot of subjects, man. We wanted to talk about what's happening in society, relationships, men, women, you know, who's more on the downfall, why women have become so retarded, why is it hard for men, do you get what I mean? Sorry, I'm just a bit of a smart ass, you know what I mean?
No, that's fine.
Us men are always on the back foot. TikTok as well, because you're an OG. I want to know what happens on that social media. We're talking about it, you know what I mean? I want to know what happens, trolling. I've always want to know about trolling. If you want to open that up, what do you reckon, boys?
I'm easy.
I think a good topic is like relationships and stuff like that. That's a good place to start if you wanted to. I'm happy to talk about that.
Do you think what I talk about on those lives and that how like men are and how men should be and how women are like just, they don't know what they want? How much do you agree to that, you reckon?
I think that so what it is that usually, so for example, if you've chosen to marry the person, we're talking about those that are going to choose to marry someone and they fall in love and all the excitement and everything. And then you think after so many years why they drift apart. Like if we're going to talk about people that, there's a lot of divorces as well. Most of the time with what I've seen, just because of family law and reading up on affidavits and why people get divorced, people drift away and there's a kind of like they get bored with each other. And I don't know if that's a society thing as well. Do you know what I mean? Like everything is in society like quick fix. We just like, but also the loss of respect. So how you treated the person when you first met them, it should stay like that throughout the whole relationship. You know, like this kind of on your good behavior kind of thing. A lot of people lose that in a relationship. But then, if you want to talk about before that, actually finding someone that you're compatible with, I think it's hard in today's world because, again, I think people have become a little bit like superficial. Everything is a little bit more instant. You've got to have a bit of a balance. It all depends on what you're looking for in a partner as well. Are you looking in the eyes of your parents? Are you looking in the eyes of society? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That was very general, so if you want to go specific, can do that too. So I thought I'll open it up there.
Most divorces are initiated by women, over 70% because of lack of commitment. I'll start with you. What do you reckon about that?
I beg to differ.
No, but they're statistics because I always go by statistics.
Lack of commitment from which end though?
That's what the main thing is, so lack of commitment. And that's one of the main reasons.
Oh, you mean they're accusing the guy of lack of commitment?
Yeah, that's why they initiate divorce. So lack of commitment could be the guy's working too much. He's probably not how he used to be when they first initiate. That's the main reason. And I think out of that 70%, 90% are highly educated women.
Right, yeah, which actually you would think
they're big numbers, right, guys, those ones? What do you reckon about that?
If you're talking about lack of commitment and it's true, when a man makes a commitment, he needs to stick to it too.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you're a man, you're a man for a reason. You've got to stick to your commitments. When you have kids, you don't just leave them.
But do you think 70% of men are like lacking commitment?
No, I think what you're saying about working too much and stuff like that, women have to understand as well that to have the things that they enjoy and to live the life that they like, a man has to go to work. Especially, and it all depends. Is she a stay-at-home mum and he's the breadwinner? So then if that's the case and he's got to work and he's working hard, that's his job. That's his role. So you can't complain about that.
So out of that 70% of that lack of commitment, 90% are highly educated.
Where are these statistics from?
They've got them. Like if you just Google it now, there'll be like a whole, like it's not even just one. They're like independent studies. So it's not just one. Some will range from 70, 75, some are 85%. So I'm going by the lowest, 70%, and 90% of that is all high. So like...
So 90% of who, but the women?
The women. So the 90% of the women in that 70% that initiate divorce are highly educated.
But
so
it also depends on who participates in these research.
I think that even matters.
Yeah, because these research, the statistics are sort of like a general thing, but really it depends on who participates in the social research. Surveys, and it's not always correct in a way of, I think it's both. It's kind of like we're on equal footing here with men and women complaining about the reasons why they want out of a relationship. But like, okay, let's go specific here. So let's just say that, put context into it. So like a normal average family, what does it look like? Say like a guy goes to work, the girl, is she a stay-home mum? Is she working as well? Like what's the scenario? Like you can choose one and go from there.
Commitment is a matter of perspective too. Like at the end of the day, a commitment in the eyes of a woman could be a different kind of commitment in the eyes of a man. My version of commitment is I'm the breadwinner. I need to provide for my wife and kids. I need to make sure that we're living a life that we can be, it's sustainable, like over long term, based on what we do, how much we earn, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it all depends on the lifestyle they want as well. So it's all a matter of perspective. At the end of the day, a man's priorities may be different to a woman's priorities, but that's something you got to work out amongst each other as a couple.
It should be a conversation had before you
But
actually get together.
Do you think things are changing now? Because like this whole thing of the man being the breadwinner and the woman being like this, and this is why divorce rates have gone through the roof and relationships are going all over the place, because now women are coming in knowing that they don't need a man and they can provide for themselves and all this.
It's not that we don't need
rubbish.
a man. In today's world, you need two incomes. Like that's the reality of it. Having kids, like I've got children, it's not cheap. You know, there's all these things you have to pay for. So realistically, two incomes, you're just getting by. But if the man, okay, so we're talking, if you want to go years and years ago, it was much easier. Like my parents' time, my mum was able to stay home and look after the kids while my dad worked because that was enough income. Mm-hmm. But in our day and age, if you are going to work, a woman and a man's going to work, then of course your roles get changed a little bit as well in the house. Like everything should be balanced. It's not like this is your job only, this is my job only. No, like if a woman's going to work, and some of them have children and they go to work, when they come home, whatever needs to get done at home should be shared as well. But if you're just a stay-home mother, you know, and you're at home doing all that, you know, work, that's kind of like your role. It's your contribution to the relationship. So you got to have this conversation before you actually do get married or settle down, because you need to know, like you said about priorities, you need to know that before you get into the relationship. What's the practical side of, you know?
100%. But when you first get into a relationship, here's the thing: you marry for what you believe is love. You don't think about what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Your lives change when you have kids. You don't have the same lifestyle you had before kids.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Like that's 100% how it is.
Yeah.
What you're earning now is maybe not enough or just getting you by now, whereas before you were a bit more comfortable. You had a bit more flexibility and freedom, and you know what I mean? So your life does change, and that's a lot of pressure on not just the man, it's a lot of pressure on the woman too. So that's probably what the core issue is with the divorces. But then obviously it comes down to what you're saying. 70% are saying it's lack of commitment, but I don't see that as lack of commitment. I see that as your life is actually changing.
It's life changing.
It's very hard to adapt. It's very difficult. Like I was at a point where I had 4 under 4.
Wow.
So in 4 years, we rolled out 4 kids pretty much.
Wow, bro, that's crazy.
So
it's a tank.
It's
No TV?
I had
Did you have a TV?
I had 2 TVs, bro. I've always had 2 TVs. TV, Boxtel, everything. But no, it's just the way. Let's see. God decided that's what was going to happen, and that's what was going to happen. Like, you know, we were married for a couple of years, 2 to 3, or almost 3 years before we had kids. So usually you have your kid after the first year of marriage, then you try. But you know, with us, that was the God's plan, and that's what happened. But anyway, like my life changed very quickly, so I can relate to those situations. And yeah, it's pressure. It's a lot of other things that come into play where you're just, you know, you feel that you're unhappy in certain scenarios, but really, like, you've got this blessing that you've got to deal with, and you're there for that reason, and you start living for your children and doing things. Okay. Your priorities change.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how it works.
That's a nice way, but see, look, this is what I think. See, I don't know, you probably push back. Red, I'll get a thing from you. I think modern women have changed the game for men to either not commit or not get married, or it's not worth it. I think they've because women really decide where the marriage is going to go, if it's going to end or not. I truly believe. Men really don't. You know what I mean? If they're going to really fall off or not. Because when women,
talking about making the decision to end, or the
like to make the whole choice
prior to that?
The whole thing, from the start to the finish. Women decide who they're going to be with to the end when they're going to leave the person. men don't really initiate it as much as women do. It's mainly women. I'm just thinking that modern women have changed the game so much now. That's why it's all falling apart. That's how I see it.
See, okay, so when you
I'll
say
get your
that,
point
though,
soon, Red.
sorry, yeah, I just want to add to that.
No,
quickly.
you're right.
Just because you're saying that women are the ones that initiate whether the marriage is going to continue or not. No. Men can initiate whether it's going to continue, not from so much saying it, but say their actions can actually tell if they are, wanting to initiate a separation or something like that. So they just start to drift away. So you're talking about like actually initiating where you're saying, I want a divorce, the words.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but prior to that, obviously something's been happening. So it's up to like, it can be a man that's really initiated divorce through his actions.
That's true, but I'm
so
saying
really
that
sometimes women can voice things out different. That's why you probably hear it a lot that women do it, is because of course we're more, we might voice it out, whereas a man just plays the role. Like just say if the marriage is over in his head, he's just living that way. Do you know what I mean?
that's true. I'm just saying, I think there's more that women bring in now, like as problems to the marriage, and I think either maybe men
woman's
can
fault.
zone out.
Yeah.
I don't
Are
know.
you talking about? Are you talking about society?
Like society-wise,
modern day women
when you look at the
have an influence on married women? Is that what you're saying?
no, more like if you look
Divorce
at why do you look at, let's say, our parents and that.
Yeah.
Our mothers never left our dads. Usually that's what happens. You know what I mean? Till now, if something happens, bang, they're out the door. You see this difference now.
But
you know
a man
what I mean?
can leave the door out the door as well. Like back in
of
the
course
days,
they
I
do.
mean, there was no fault divorce. There's no fault divorce now. But back before, sorry, did you want to say something quickly? Because I can go on about this for ages. but
I'm waiting.
There's a lot of guys that have just stepped out for milk and never come back.
yeah, or they just step out, they come back, but they've done their thing. Like, I mean, it's you know what I mean? Like, say,
But what causes them to go step out for milk and not come back?
Oh, right, there's,
no,
But
Wow.
she
Red, what do you reckon, Red?
she just said it, but like one of the main aspects in a marriage is contentment. And what something is in women is that you're never content. I don't care what woman stands in front of me and says I'm content. You are never content.
you can't generalize all women the same, though. You've got to admit
Let me
that.
generalize it for you. Women, wait, we're on camera. Women, okay.
But generally, there are exceptions,
It
right,
is
Red?
trolling,
There's
it's
exceptions.
trolling.
Generally.
Bro, I'm telling you, a woman feeds a guy the vibes.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. If I'm interested in a girl, and she's giving me what I want, obviously I'm gonna get more attracted to her because she's giving me what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. So in a married situation, when there are two that have taken that step to enter their own house, then everything outside that house doesn't matter anymore. So that can be friends, that can be parents, that can be family.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because when I'm entering my house, that doorstep, that's my heir, and me as a king, I have a queen.
Yep.
Okay, but if my queen is going to look outside the house and say, oh, look what she has, look what he's doing, he's taking her out and he's doing this for her and she's getting that, and look at what I'm getting, then I'm sorry to say, then the bitch that's like talking shit about running down her husband,
Yes.
you're the one that chose that guy for starters. That's the first thing. Second of all, if you knew what he was and you can't be content with that because now you're in that hole that you just dug for yourself, then the bitch should eat she should eat her own words. I'm serious. I'll say that as a bitch.
I totally agree with you. That's why I say don't generalize all women, because you could say that about men as well. There's the flip side, right?
Let me say something, because I'll tell you something, and this is happening now. Yeah. Kim Kardashian was a nobody. Okay, a nobody. Yeah, she went and got ramped. Like we all know, we seen the video. I hit it first.
Right.
She got done in a sex tape, but her views went all the way up. And she came out with new modifications to her body, makeup, dress codes. And who are the followers? Who are the followers? Honestly, girls. So if I'm gonna have a girl that's always looking outside and, oh babe, look, isn't her ass so nice? I want to do that. And I'm gonna look at that and say, but I'm happy with what I have. I'm happy with you. I'm content with you.
Yeah.
Women are always constantly, I don't care how good the woman is. I do not care how good the woman is. They're always gonna look outside. Always they're gonna look. They're never content with what they have. And that's the problem with nowadays societies is that, for example, you were mentioning a stay-home mum, yeah? So while the guy is outside breaking his back, okay, and this also falls under the two incomes. So the two incomes comes because the first income wasn't enough to satisfy the girl's wants.
It's always the girl.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I can go
again,
to what
talking in general here, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's always in general.
In general.
There's always
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you.
I just wanted to make that clear that you're talking in general. Like this is how you feel about.
Is that
women.
all the women or in general?
No, in general.
Bro,
he's talking about his experience.
No, I'll tell you, it's all women because if you,
I can't agree with you because I can stereotype men as to what I've seen only.
All right, I'll tell you something.
All men are like that.
Nowadays, stay-at-home mothers. Once the guy's at work, the kids are at school. The girl calls up her mates. Yeah, let's have a get together and start bitching about each other.
Oh no,
that's what they do. Honestly, that's what they do. I got my neighbor. They do that. And bro, they run down on every girl that's not present. But when that girl comes, oh yeah, babe, how are you? I miss you. This, that, but.
Look, I don't disagree with you. Everything you're saying right now is typically some women's life. Yes. And then there's the flip side to it when it comes to men. You've got women that literally make the house a home, treat the man like a king. We're talking loyal, has his back, does not let anyone speak bad about her man. We're talking all the things that men, but they've got the other side of the man. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got either the good and like, I don't know how that ends up happening. But let's talk about this, about women and stuff like that. Okay, you're saying that, you know, they're never content, this, that. I can only speak on my own personal experience. If a woman doesn't love herself and she's not satisfied in herself and complete, and this goes for men as well, when you're going to enter a relationship, you need to know who you are and you need to be complete and you need to be happy with yourself. If you're not, then that's where that comes in. Always wanting something more, always something missing. You could have the perfect marriage, you could have the perfect house. If you're not a person that's still, those things are the things that make you happy, you're always going to want more. You're going to follow the trend.
Yeah, but see,
you know what I mean? You always want to upgrade.
But that's a turn off. That's a turn off.
Yeah,
but once in a while, you got to
see, that falls under contentment.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. My experience, like someone like me, I can talk about myself. Okay, I don't think that I'm perfect. No, I don't think I'm perfect, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm happy with myself, right? I really am. So I'm all right with staying like this kind of thing. I don't need to upgrade myself. I mean, I don't need to go get I don't have this, but you know, I don't need that to feel like I'm valued or I'm somehow, I'm happy with myself. So me going into a relationship, for example, that's not my priority. My priority is my household, it's like your kingdom. Do you know what I mean? Like, and building an empire with the person that I'm with. It's like, F the world. That's how it's supposed to be. So that's because I'm already feeling that way. You got to be like that before you enter a relationship.
What he's trying to say, but unfortunately there's comparisons. And nowadays, because of, and social media is a big one.
Yeah.
Because of what they see, and a lot of it could be bullshit. Like a lot of it could be put on. A lot of it could be.
It's all like showing off and wanting to compare with each other.
Right. And people look at it and go, oh, but, you know, how come this guy works with him, he works at the same place, but why aren't I getting what his business gets, basically, right? So the comparing is the major problem when it comes to that stuff. And when you look within and you're happy with that person, you just got to remember why you married this person. Who that person is.
But that changes, to a culture thing as well. With that, so for example, the Arabic community, everyone compares. Yeah, like they got a nicer house than me. Oh, their lounges are, this is a cultural thing too.
To admire what someone has. But then it's another level to want
envy
and to envy what they've got.
See,
actively work towards getting that, even if it means breaking up your house.
But do you know one thing? I was read what you said about.
Comes down to how you were raised as well, though.
You were generalizing on something. See that? Is that something that's like what he said? Has that become the general? Is that still the exception?
No, that's
because once upon a time, like I could say that back then, like my view is like back then it was an exception where like marriages were like this and generally people were happy. Now I feel like it's the opposite. Generally,
you didn't hear
it's
about
fucked.
divorce back then. They didn't have the chance to do that. It was too taboo.
Yeah,
but that
but
doesn't mean they were happy either.
No, it's not.
It doesn't mean they were happy. I mean, look at the generation of kids that got raised in marriages. There's the mother and the father slept in separate bedrooms, and they've raised up, and it actually affects generation to generation. I don't care what's happened before, and I don't care what the statistics say. To be honest, I think it's just if you're a person that's got to compare yourself to others, then that's a you issue. Whether it's in a relationship or in a friendship, that's an issue you're going to have regardless. Always comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, but the comparison always comes from the female. And I'll tell you why. Because we're the breadwinners, yeah? A man is known to be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
In a normal household, as they say. Okay?
The provider, yeah.
So if a girl wants something, all right, for example, if my wife something, of course, she's not going to come and tell me, oh, yeah, I want that car.
He's the problem solver.
She's going to come in a way where she's going to say, oh, babe, like, imagine driving that car or being in that car. Or automatically, that guy in his head is going to say, you know what, I'm gonna work one day so I can make that for her come true. You know? So for me, I would do something like that for my wife, but she has to earn that. You know, if I'm going to have a wife, I'm coming back from work, I'm going blah, 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 do whatever you got to do. I'm going to look like that and say, stuff you and the kids.
Yeah, but that all depends on people in general, if they're materialistic or not. Like some people care for brands, some people don't, right? For example, this is $18 from Shein. Everyone thinks it's a real Versace. But it's Arabs, and I tell them it's a fake. They go, yeah, they think it's embarrassing, right? I couldn't give a shit. To me, if I'm going to buy something for $5, it's exactly the same looking like $1,000 bag. I'm going to get the one for $5.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I go TK Maxx because I like designer labels, but I'm not going to pay full price for it. But that's because that's how I am, right? Yeah. So it's a you issue. So a woman coming in, especially depends what culture and how they were raised. If their parents raised them to look at material stuff as your value, like if you have this, that's why it makes you look important, right? But if you don't have those things, then you're a nothing and a nobody.
But that's not a valid point.
If a woman was raised like that by her own family, then she's going to be like that in marriage.
That's not a valid point, because I'm a family of 5 boys, and not every one of us think the same or see everything as what they want.
But most girls are trained to marry a man for those reasons. In a way, he's going to make you look good. He's going to give you these things.
There is, but see how you think now?
Yeah.
Are you thinking
I was always like that.
Do you think that's an exception, thinking like that? Or is that generally how people think nowadays? That, I think, is
you can't put statistics on stuff like this. I tell you something. I tell you why. Sorry, go on.
For me, the women in my life, my wife, my sister, my aunties, and whatever. Generally, they all got the same type of mentality.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you what it's like generally, because the women in my life are not materialistic, and they're not.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's right. No, he's got a good point.
Yeah.
But then, what about the people that have gone outside and seen what the goal is?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If I see certain atmospheres, I'm like, far out, man, things have changed now. I'll give you an example, like doing security. Yeah. I remember guys used to be on the hunt. I'm just giving an example. Now it's the other way around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree on that.
For me, truly, I believe when women are very important, when women change, society changes.
Absolutely.
Look, yes, that's fine. But see, okay, men. Let's talk about men here. So you don't like to be generalised of 2 or 3 nasty women, and all of a sudden all women are like this. Men in general, okay, we all know they're the man. Yeah, they're meant to be leaders in their home, leaders in society. I mean, it's their duty in a way of lead by example. You don't see that a lot because they're not trained that way, in a way of, yes, you say women can be so influential, they change society. I mean, in a way of like the things that they do and this and that. Why and how? Where's the men? Why aren't the men taking over? Where is the men? Like in a way of, excuse me, but you're the man, take charge, but not aggressively. That's not taking charge. Take charge by, what does a leader do? What does a king or a whatever, they take charge and they do the right thing, regardless of what's happening around them. They will do the right thing, right? Because that's a man. So really, there's no excuse when it comes to, men take over in that sense. I'm not, like I said, it's not the aggressive way where I'm the boss, I do whatever I want, but lead by example. A lot of sons are looking at their fathers and what they're doing. A lot of the times these dads can come and go whenever they want. They have different rules on themselves they have for their wives, and, you know, and their sons are watching this. They're learning from their father exactly how in society you should be in your home. And if you don't want your wife, for example, I was telling you this in the car, if you don't want your wife going out to a huffle because you don't like that scene for your wife, for whatever reason, then what the hell are you doing there? Because you put yourself in the same place where
That's
you
a party,
wouldn't see
by the way, yeah.
like a Arabic party. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, a guy can go. I'm just saying, like, if you're a very strong moral belief about the fact that this place is not suitable for your wife because whatever, then you shouldn't be there either, because you should be leading by example, right? If it's good enough for you, it's good enough for, do you know what I mean? But like in saying that, even with women, okay, so if your man is doing everything right, and we're talking about he is a respectful, he's genuine, his heart is really for his family, his best interest is his family, she has no excuse but to follow as well. So when it comes to decision making to do with money, and he's the one that's working, you know, there should be a budget, there should be a consensus on what, you know, you guys can afford. Building an empire together. If a woman has that kind of understanding, she's not going to be wanting, oh, I want this new car that's come about, because she understands that's something that's going to have to wait because this is more important. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be wisdom. This is coming like a real woman, a very strong woman knows how to submit. That's what I say, because she knows her place, and a real man will just know how to take over without by force or being aggressive. It's just,
but
do you know what I mean? Like,
just on those scenarios, like it's
nowadays,
men are more to, like, sorry, bro, but like just on those two scenarios that you've given me, just by that, it just shows you who is committed more into the relationship.
Exactly.
Like, see, like you're saying for a man, he shouldn't be at a place only. It's just a certain place that he's got to go. But for a woman, like, look how much a man is going to bring. He's got to be a guy that's bringing in this and this and this and this and this and that. All you got to do is listen to him. Like, there's a massive gap between commitments right there, like what you were saying. I'm just going at those examples.
what do you mean by listen to him and the gap? What do you mean?
Like, do you get what I mean? Like, when you look at, you gave me the example of like guys shouldn't be at a certain place. It's a scenario, right?
A scenario in a way, like that's just one example. I'm saying like lead by example. What does that mean?
But there's like a level of like commitment there. Like just those two scenarios, who is giving more commitment in the relationship?
No. There's got to be commitment from both. I was just like, okay, a woman being committed to her husband and or her partner is everything that, like, what is commitment coming from a woman? Being loyal, being respectful, doing her job, playing her role in the marriage, you know, like all those things. Okay, yes, going to work is not such a big deal. Like I went to work and I had kids. I took my kids with me to work as well. I worked full time and I had children. Okay, I had my own business, even took them to work with me. Even times when they went to childcare, it was like, hey, I'm at work. I don't have to deal with kids. Dealing with kids is not easy. Like raising children, like we're not just talking leaving them in a playpen all day and you're on the phone with your friend. That's not raising kids. But like raising kids is, it's a job and a half, and it doesn't end. When you go to sleep at night, you have to wake up for the kids. Like there's a balance here. Both man and woman in a relationship got to do whatever it takes to build their family. There's no point one doing everything and the other is hardly doing nothing. That's a strain on that person. Eventually they're going to burn out. And if you're worried for your future and you really want to build something, you're going to be switched on about when they're tired, when they're not tired. You don't have to be whinging at each other. Like, I'm tired today. Can you help me with this? It should be something you should observe and see. Oh, look, you know what? They've had a stressful day. I'm just going to, because we do that for our mates. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get passionate here.
That's true. That is true, 100%. But there's times where a guy just doesn't read between the lines.
Oh no, this is for women too. I'm talking for women noticing when your man is tired. Are you talking about how we should be
mind readers? Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
There's nothing wrong with a woman saying, hey,
yes,
I'm tired today, I had a big day, can you just do this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind that, I don't mind doing that. If I get asked, I'll do it, I'll help. But sometimes I don't know what kind of a day.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Not so mind reading. No, not mind reading type. I meant like you asking. You should be able to observe in a way. Yeah, I understand you're tired. Yeah, because they've asked. Yeah, that's fine. No, nothing wrong with that. I don't mean that they should just do it without being asked at all, and they have to always be on the ball of it. No, just when I talk like this, it's very, very general. But of course, that's, you know, if you have that kind of respect with each other, you're able to tell each other that stuff without it being an offence or...
I'm with you.
Build each other up.
And a man needs to be willing to get in there and be a hands-on.
100%, but at the same time, like, are we expect to be mind readers? Honestly,
No,
a lot of women
not at
think
all,
they're
because
being
I don't agree
read.
with that either.
Bro,
See,
you gotta
a
take
lot of
on that.
women, a lot of
Bro.
women like to test their husbands to see if they are knowing, like, mind you swear. I don't agree with that at
You see,
all.
that's challenging.
See what I mean? That's just
That's
like,
not testing, that's challenging.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's very provoking.
You see that?
You don't,
That's a mind fuck.
100%.
100%.
So you think
it
a
is.
guy's not going to switch out and go, the last thing I want is coming home after a massive headache of a day, come home and now I've got to find this algorithm of how to see what's going.
You know what it is? A man's expected to come and go, okay, this is how I want things. I'm the captain of this ship. This is how I want things to be, right? And a man, because his nature is like that, he's only going to understand that language. He's not going to understand, she slammed her finger, she's not having a good day.
That to me, I hate body language like that.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's
that-
the
Well,
worst.
like, how's your day? I don't know.
Just tell me, mate. Just tell me, yeah?
Yeah, I
Say,
get it.
hey,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, I'm happy. That's the type of person I am, and that's the language they understand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and read your emotions and
Yeah.
you might have had a bad day. You might have had an argument with your friend. You might have had, I don't know. You know what I mean?
So that comes down to communication, okay?
100%.
And respect. Like, okay, how would you talk to your mate? Just for example, like your mate asked you, how was your day? You're going to be like, have an attitude that most women have or men have towards their partner.
I think
Do you know what
guys
I mean?
and guys, the way we are, I think it's a bit different when we're like talking
Or
to our
even girls,
wives
even
or
girls,
whatever.
they
If
talk
you
to
have
each
a
other.
wife to
Hi,
like,
babe. How you
don't
going,
take
babe? They're very nice. Very
no, but see,
respectful.
look, women talk very respectful. I don't know if that men or not, but us guys, you know how us guys are. We roast each other and we're all
No,
right.
as
we
in,
do, 100%.
as in,
We've
like,
gotta be
if
different
you,
to, like, with
We're not
with
emotional
women.
thinkers, bro.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
not. We don't look. That's how we're created. Yeah, our makeup is like that. Men are logical thinkers. I'm not saying women aren't logical. Don't get me wrong, but
No, you're right.
Women are more.
yeah, but this is what you
more on the
do. It's
emotional
supposed to be
side.
both. You're supposed to have a bit of both
They're
anyway.
more on the emotional side.
Yeah.
right? Men do have emotion, but they're not emotional thinkers. Their actions are. I can sit here now and have an argument with someone, or I could be at work, right? At work. You go now, and I'll tell you right now, you work with your mate, you give it to him at work, you pump him, you say, mate, I can't, you're doing this, you're fucking around, bro, you go off at him, you blast him, right? 10 minutes later, that conversation's over, we're done with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Where if a woman does that to a woman, it's personal. They get annoyed with it.
Yeah,
Because
most
why?
women are like that. Yeah, they
because
can.
Is that true?
It hurts them
Well, it depends if
emotionally.
it's in a workplace environment.
It's work related.
If it's
attacking, right? So for example, if my boss comes and tells me, hey, you've been doing this, you've been doing that, you've been doing that. First thing I would do, okay, I'll think about, you know what, you're right, bro. I'm sorry, I apologise.
Self accountability.
I'll fix
women are very
Right?
capable in that when it comes to a profession.
Yeah,
100%,
I
that's your
understand.
job.
Have
Have you ever read? Have you ever heard of?
A man could say it in the way he's comfortable to say it.
Yeah.
When he's talking to a female, he's got to be careful.
Well, yeah, there's
He's gotta be
code.
very, very
There's code of
careful.
conduct at work, anyways.
Yeah, but no, I'm not talking about.
I know, but I know what you're saying. Guys can say stuff and brush it off.
They get hurt easier. They're more. They get. A man might just get a bruised ego and get over it, but a woman will be emotional about it. She'll continue thinking about it, and that's just an example of the work environment. At home, a man's got to be himself, and if he's himself, sometimes it might hurt emotionally for a woman. Yeah, but she's got to have that understanding. Okay, but that's my husband. That's how he speaks. That's the way he is.
That's how I chose him.
It's not that he's disrespecting her. He's not. It's not about disrespecting.
Like he's just had a bad
I'm not talking about
moment.
name calling. I'm not talking about any of that. Yeah, you can't personally attack someone regardless who they are. But that's just disrespectful. And if you're going to be disrespectful like that to your own wife, then you don't even respect yourself, really, right? So I'm talking about if you're angry about something, upset about something, and you're saying, okay, this is how I want it to be, man. Like just straight up, right? Some women get offended with that. They get upset.
It's like, how
with
do
it.
you talk to me like that? And it's like, show some grace. Like, you got to have grace.
He's
like,
your husband. Like,
yeah.
he's not going to talk to you like that. Who's he going to talk to like that?
Yeah, it's trying to be
You know
himself,
what I mean?
and you
It's
chose
but
that
vice
person
versa
as well.
too. Sometimes women can get it.
100%, yes.
But you know, I tell you something. I'll give you a really good example. So my friend was complaining to me about her relationship. Right? I'm thinking, oh, you know, he's starting to be rude to her. This, that. I'm thinking maybe you guys need to sit down and have a conversation. So I went to her house. He come home from work. He was so tired. You could tell he had a shit day. And the way that he walked in was like, hello. And he's like, can you get me water? You know. All right, that's not a huge big
Sounds
thing.
like a pretty good husband.
But listen, no, wait.
Oh.
She goes, you got 2 feet, get it yourself. And I looked at it and I went,
No
I didn't
way,
say anything,
man.
but just wait. I thought, oh, no, maybe he's been treating her like a bit like, you know. Anyway, and then she looked at me and she's like, hey, babe, do you want anything? Do you want water? Do you want something to eat? Do you want me to get you something? And I went, excuse me, but your husband walked in here, literally tired, okay? He asked you, can you get me water, right? But then you're offering me the world. I'm your friend. I go, who am I compared to that man? You're the one sleeping with him at night, not me. So you could be so wanting to give me everything. You know, like when people come over to your house, like, do you want a coffee? Do you want something? Even if I answered her like that, like her husband, she'd still give me the best, yeah? And the best treatment. I go, if you're willing to give that to me and not to your husband, I don't want it. I go, your husband gets that kind of respect before your friends do. I go, the same way you guys are visitors when you come over, you give them the best. You give them, like you wear the best, yeah? We always put on a show because we want to treat our guests, that we want to give them the best, yeah? Give that to each other first and then worry about the rest of the world. That's how I think. So if I'm not giving my husband the respect that I give to my friend, like the same, you know, like in a way of how I speak to people, the social skills, the respectful manner, even at work, my boss, oh, it's okay for women to time and time again work for a company that pretty much, you know, puts it over them all the time, but because it's their job, they take it, right? But they can't even take one comment from their man. Like if you're capable of sort of, you know, showing grace or being patient for a real reason like your work, well then your life at home with your men, that is who deserves the patience. But that's who deserves the grace, you know?
You know, for us,
And vice versa.
I'll tell you something, yeah. If I came home and I seen my missus with her mate, I'll instantly, I'll make it clear, like, that mate, she's not welcome. Like, I'll make her feel she's not welcome.
Oh, she was sitting
And
down and there was a friend over.
I'll never ever accept my wife to speak to me or treat me like how she treats everybody else.
Oh no, I meant the respect factor. I'm not talking
Even
about
the respect factor.
No, if they're not, like there's some husband and wife that talk to each other like hey Allah like this, but then in front of people they're very nice.
Yeah, but
I meant give that to your partner first. Give your best to your partner first.
Yeah, but see, there's two different personalities with a guy, yeah. So for example, yeah, we're sitting all together, yeah. So you're a female, obviously. I'm not going to be myself. Like before you came, we were ourselves, you know. We're talking, having a laugh, you know. Now it's a bit more different. There's a bit of a different vibe.
A bit more respectful.
Yeah,
You got to be a bit more respectful as a female.
Okay,
Like if I'm sitting with my missus, I'm gonna be like a baby with her.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be wrestling with her. I'm gonna be like dropping comments to her, you know. And obviously she's gonna give me back what I want. She already knows how my brain is. Where if I'm gonna come and caress her, or I'm watching a movie, you know, I'm giving her hints that are what I want.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. Yeah.
Like if
hints.
I know what you're saying. That, like,
Netflix and
you
chill.
You speak differently with your partner than what you speak with your mates. I'm not.
No,
I
it's
know
not that. It's not
Yeah.
that. A man. Okay, so a man he'll come about something that he wants, but he won't say it to you. Like he'll throw you some elements, but at the same time, if that girl doesn't want to open her legs, she's not going to open her legs. You know, for me, if I'm doing that, like for example, with my wife, I'll start to fall out of love with her because she's not giving me what I want. You know, and I'm not gonna accept the girl, for example, how you were saying before. I'm not gonna accept the girl to be telling me after I'm married when she knew I'm going out to parties, whatever, whether it's Arab parties or not parties. I'm not gonna accept the girl 10 years down the track to tell me, oh, don't you think it's enough? Don't you think to stop? Don't you think? Because that was the girl's job to navigate that before the marriage.
100%. Whatever you fell in love with about that person, you can't expect them to change everything about them if that's what you liked.
Do you think that's another
100%.
thing as well, like where women are choosing the wrong partners? Guys, before anything, I'm going to probably cut it a little bit short.
Yeah.
Because the only reason is I'm having a feeling that camera's going to turn off.
Oh,
so
okay,
I still will think it's a battery issue,
this
but we can still roll it.
It goes into a spiral.
100%. It's not going to be the first time. We're going to have way more
There's
than
a
this.
lot.
You know what I mean? But do you think there's that rule? It's called 80-20. 80% of women go for the 20% of those men.
Of course.
No, I don't. I don't like statistics and percentage. I don't like
No. It's a saying where they go for the that top tier of 20% of men, and then when something happens, all guys are the same.
Yeah,
Do you think this is happening as well? Because there's a lot of guys out there I've met that are very nice guys. They wake up in the morning, they're throwing the garbage, but they're just not that. They're not in that 20%. They're the nice guy, finish last type of person. You know what I mean? And I don't think girls don't like that. They tend to choose.
A woman wants a guy who's going to be
a bit toxic, you reckon? Or?
No,
not if you're a woman. No, sorry, real women don't want that. No,
she wants a guy that's going to lead, a guy that's going to be, a man's man. He's going to look after his household. She wants to feel protection. She wants to feel that comfort. You know what I mean?
But it's a burden off your shoulders if you don't have to worry about the stuff the man has to worry about.
But,
women, they want to be independent. They want to work. They want to take control of the finances. They want to control this. They want to control that. When you're raising kids, like for example, because I'm one of those women that had to do everything. I had to, right? So I was married and forced into marriage, but I still made it work. I had respect for my husband, didn't love him, but I still made it work. So I'm marrying someone I don't even want to be with, but I'm very proud, what do you call it? My ego, say for example, I care about my performance levels, whatever I'm doing, job, marriage, I wanted to make it work, So I still did everything I'm supposed to do as a wife. I just kept the respect, even though we didn't love each other, but it doesn't matter. We still had businesses, we still did, a lot of things, but I was the one that had to literally do everything, like take over. Business decisions, it's tiring. I want the man just take over for once.
But was he like that prior?
With what?
Like,
you can't compare, because when you're marrying someone you don't even want to marry, that's not.
Arranged.
You can't. But
was that an arranged marriage?
Yeah. What I'm saying is that after that, like I got to, in a way, pretend it wasn't arranged. A man doing all these things that usually that women want to take over, which is fine. But if the man's capable, it is a burden off our shoulders when we know that man's got our best interests at heart. If you trust your man and he's legit, genuine, looking out for the best interests of his family. Mate, it's like a free ride for women in that sense, because we should worry about the home, looking after our man, the house, the kids. We've got more time to focus on looking always nice for our husbands, looking like the kids are at their best. That's where our attention is, if that's your role in the relationship. Do you know what I mean? But if your roles are in reverse, again, you have to make that work. If it's balanced, you have to still make that work. But you're right about if your husband is a type like, he likes playing cards with the boys, right? Once a week he has his time out with the boys. That's his thing. No, you can't expect to change that after. Just talk about it before you get married. I don't want you to go out with the boys once a week. Then have that conversation. Why?
But then there's the situation where, priorities change.
Yes, of course.
A few years later, you have kids, and now your priorities have changed. Should the man have that responsibility of, he's got to adapt as well, because he's the provider. He's the guy that's going to be, he's the leader.
Yeah.
So for me personally, in a situation like that, I'd still go and play my cards.
Well, you need your time. It's very important.
I think men can't be controlled.
I'd probably trim it down. A man has to make that decision.
Yeah, you can't be controlled.
A woman steps in and wants to force that upon him, it's not going to
No. It's actually, you lose yourself as a human.
Saying that, a woman also has the responsibility of keeping the man grounded. In what sense? I'll tell you. So you got to make sure he's not going to be craving anything. You got to make sure that he's satisfied with what he's got. He's content with what he's got. She can't change in that aspect.
Yeah, vice versa. A man should always look nice for his woman too.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But
unless he's got multiple.
At the same time, it's all about how the lady comes across. You've ever heard that saying? Behind the great man, there's an even greater woman.
Of course.
And that's the truth, and that's reality. But
that's right, because it takes a woman to know her place as well.
You can't come and say to a guy, I'm fucking sick of, every week you're going this and that. He's going to tell you, you know what, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Go get fucked.
Yeah. But if she sits down and says, listen, this, that happened today. Do you think, do you want to just think about, it's just the way.
Communication, like a proper communication.
Communicate with respect. That's the language a man understands. You come across in a way where, listen, you go cards every week. I never had a problem with it, but you know what? I need a little bit of help here, man. I'm struggling. Can you please?
Yeah, communication.
That's all you need to say. You don't even need acknowledgement yet. Right? The acknowledgement comes through the actions.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks later, he gets invited to cards. He'll look and go, how's your day today? You all right? it's not permission.
It's respect.
It's just making sure like the home is good before you go out there and enjoy your own time. Because men aren't a selfish type of person. Men aren't selfish, man. Like if they got a family, they're not selfish. I was saying that